Hello, everyone. I'm Colin of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark tonight to talk about WWE NXT 2.0. John, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We're here to talk about WWE NXT 2.0. Um, yeah. Oh, John and I were talking before when on the air. There's a stretch in the opening hour where there is just segment after segment of things I didn't really care for. And that just kind of took me out of it to begin with. And ironically, I thought the second hour was a lot better. So at least things kind of ended on a better note. But this one, in some ways, was pretty rough. We'll talk all about it. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section here. But before we do, just want to remind you all this show, like everything we do here, is available on all of our streaming platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. Boy, John, I mean, let's start with some positives, all right? We had the main event as advertised, which was Roderick Strong, the Cruiserweight Champion, facing Bron Breakker. I thought this was a very good match. I thought this was yet another step in the right direction for Bron Breakker. He looked great against a veteran like Roderick Strong. As we've been saying for weeks now, pretty much anytime you have one of these kind of matches, you can pretty safely bet that the new guy is going to win. But I thought it was still a good match, even despite of that. There's some times where I thought Strong might win anyway. Breakker wins, and then he gets attacked by Tommaso Ciampa, the NXT champion, from behind, which would seem like a heel move, but I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to boo the face of the Black and Gold brand at this point. You're just not. But from that itself, Stephen Chambers saying it was a good match. John, what do you think about this latest showing from Bron Breakker and the pretty clear tease that we will be getting a rematch between Ciampa and Bron Breakker here?
I thought this was probably the best match that Strong has had in quite some time on the show. I thought that the finish was pretty good, but it did seem like they rushed it a little bit at the end there. Uh, I think this is going to be an earned win for Breakker if they do end up getting this rematch and kind of make NXT 2.0's legacy solidified in stone. I also think that Strong versus Hayes is probably on the horizon, which I believe could be a potential winner take all between the Cruiserweight and NXT North American Championship. It'd be a clever way to potentially phase out the Cruiserweight Championship if they wanted to do that. What do you think about that possibility that we could kind of see this winner take all kind of match in an attempt to possibly get rid of that Cruiserweight Championship?
I think that'd make a lot more sense than some of the things we've been or not that they've been teasing when they had the Joe Gacy feud. It seemed like they're going to do some kind of, even if not in name, in principle, some quote unquote all inclusive title to end the cruiserweight limit in that sense. Strong retained title there, and they've clearly moved on from that. But that was definitely a hint or a sign that they might be, like as you're saying, there might be something else on the table for the cruiserweight title. And I think that'd be a lot more preferable to have the winner take all champion match kind of thing, because then it's less changing a title into something else that it's not, and more of just strengthening and solidifying another title in the process. I think that would be preferable to be building that up in a good way. And with Melo saying that he's the A champion and that he's the best, to quite literally beat another champion and take his title in that sense. I think that would be a pretty good way to do so. But and if that's one outcome here that we see Hayes versus Strong, which was teased here. Hayes was at ringside for this match. They had a backstage confrontation. I think there are definitely worse things they could do. But again, a pretty good main event here. Brian Everett saying it was impressive, made both guys look good. Agreed, and that's what you really only want for any main event. So I have to be on board with that, so can't complain there. As for Stephen Chambers asking when we might see this eventual rematch between Ciampa and Braun, I mean, they've got New Year's Evil. I forgot about that until I just said it. I forgot they've got that coming up in just a few weeks, so I guess that would make the most sense. We've talked about that before, of having the New Year start with a new era, or as we've joked about before, NXT 2.5 in that sense of having Breakker win the title and kind of really kick off this new chapter in NXT history. So I think would be my assumption. I don't think they're going to draw it out too much further beyond that, but Would you think the same, or would you think they might want to try and build up a little bit more?
I would definitely agree there.
Yeah, so I think we're looking forward to that, and that would only be looking at now 3 weeks from today. We have 2 more TVs before that, so there's not too much they have to do. You know, they could have one more kind of thing next week, and then the kind of the classic, if they choose to, the what was it called, like the count, not the countdown video package, but like, you know, the prime target, or whatever it was, back in the days of Takeover, doing a nice video package.
Who knows what we're actually going to get on the 28th, because usually they do like a year-end review type show, so there might only be one show left.
Yeah, so with that in mind, and in that case, that's fine. They've already had this feud; they've been building it up anyway. One of those things where it's like you don't have a whole lot more to do, because it's still that inherent clash of the past and present that's spinning out of War Games. So to me, that's still right itself. But still, speaking of the titles here, talk about the Cruiserweight title, some concern or questions about what the future might hold for it. Brian Everett's saying, you know, it could be changed to more of a mid-card title if they're doing away with it. I mean, like, that's if it gets folded into the North American title, as we were saying before, with the winner take all thing. That's kind of what the North American title is, although sometimes it feels like there's like it's a fine line of the main title and North American, depending on who's on the title at either time. But I think they've been doing a good job with Mello, and especially in this hypothetical that if they wind up doing that, you know, I wouldn't be upset with that. But Nesh was saying the Cruiserweights are her favorite, and that has been something to be said for having a title for the Cruiserweights, for having if you have the depth, if you have the talent to do it. But unfortunately, again, I think sitting here today, several months in of rounds of releases, some of these rounds literally just wiped out the Cruiserweight division itself. And so I feel like we are at a point now of how do we best adapt and adjust. That might be one good way to do it. So am I saying I want them to do it with the title? No, but they might be reaching a point where it might be the better way to go here. Speaking of the better way to go, and we have been kind of predicting, it feels like we are most certainly going to get a women's title match at some point soon between Mandy Rose and Cora Jade. Cora Jade picked up yet another win here against Dakota Kai, where Dakota Kai went to get her shovel and I guess quite literally bury Cora Jade, and the referee stopped her. The distraction let Cora Jade win. Cora Jade on a roll, and then Mandy Rose attacked Jade after the match, and apparently, as the broadcast team reported, re-aggravated Cora's shoulder injury, so that might have her get written off TV for a week or so, but she'll be back, and when she does, have to imagine this is where we're going. John, what do you think about Cora Jade's wave of momentum here, and I guess, you know, what else we saw kind of unfold spinning out of this?
I agree with all your points, but I do think it was kind of a letdown with the way they kind of built her up to be a credible threat. She was getting beat down a lot throughout the match and really didn't mount like a really serious comeback. I just wasn't interested in this match for a majority of it, and I think it's a shame because Dakota Kai came back with the intention of probably making the talent that are below her look much better than they have. But I do think when it's all said and done, Cora Jade will have the opportunity to look very good and at a much higher level when she potentially wins a title. Now, of course, we know what we're going to get here. Cora Jade's going to get her match, and of course, they're going to be heelish tactics where Toxic Attraction will make sure she keeps it for a while. I don't see Mandy Rose winning clean. I don't see Cora Jade losing clean. I think it's one of those situations we're going to get here.
Yeah, I know. I would agree, and that's even kind of what we saw at least a little bit tonight. Toxic Attraction came out to the stage and distracted Jade, and that helped Mandy attack from behind. And I don't know. I would agree. They're clearly trying to build up Cora Jade, even if not as a traditionally strong contender, as the kind of underdog that can kind of catch you unexpecting and, you know, kind of win in matches like this. That's what we saw tonight. I know our comment section is very, very high on Cora as well. DJ this week saying Cora Jade, the new queen of extreme, especially based on what we saw at War Games. But Milligan saying he likes Cora Jade. Brian Everett saying it was a good match with Kai here. Jade keeps impressing. Stephen Chambers saying Cora Jade has a bright future, but it's not her time, at least for now. Managed to retain, and I would agree with that. As always, for me, when you have these underdog situations, more often than not, you shouldn't have the underdog win the first time. Like, it's kind of, if you kind of draw it out a little bit like that. And I think that's what we could be seeing. Maybe if they do this match at New Year's Evil, some shenanigans, then maybe later on, if they do like a what was it? A Vengeance Day kind of thing in February, maybe. Could be a pretty organic way to do it. That's just saying that the shovel was a nice prop. Anytime you see a shovel on a wrestling show, it's like it's kind of funny because obviously the lingo being getting buried and stuff. It always gives me a little laugh. But DJ again saying he's about how much he likes Cora, saying how can you not be interested in Cora match? He's asking you, John, but he's she's one of the best women's wrestlers in NXT history, and she hasn't been on the roster.
Oh my god, I would not go that far yet, but hey, whatever. I don't think I've seen enough personally to think that it's been a shoo-in for a 5-star top of the top by any means, but that's just me.
Yeah, she's still very much a newcomer. I've been very impressed so far, but to me, it's important to kind of pump the brakes and say, all right, she's good, having a good run, still very early in that run, so I kind of have to wait and see how the whole, I guess the totality of it kind of measures up once all said and done, once she's on the main roster or whatever. Whereas, I mean, if you're liking it, if you think that she's that great, like as I always say, more power to you. I will wait and see how she continues to grow, and I think she will. I think she'll do great here in the coming weeks and months. I'm looking forward to that. And kind of along that same mindset we've been saying, and that's just saying you've got to build up Cora Jade more before she wins. And again, whether that's at the if they do eventually think in February or another takeover like event in the early spring, I don't know, but her time's coming. It isn't quite right now, but some we do know is a little more in the short term future. We do know that Dakota Kai will face Raquel Gonzalez next week. I actually had a match this week. She'll be in action next week as well. This would seem to be the blow off match. These two obviously have been feuding for a while. They were tag team partners. They won the Dusty Cup and the tag team titles. Gonzalez defended her women's championship against Dakota a couple months ago, and they feuded all the way through War Games. Now they're still going, and it looks like we're going to get one more time. Going to see these two have a street fight next week with Dakota. Raquel literally saying she wants to end Dakota, wants to end the street, wants to end Dakota in a street fight. And Steven saying we might see the shovel again next week in a match where it's actually Eagle. I think that's a fair prediction there. National predicting that Dakota's going to lose. Would have to agree. I mean, I think as always, I try to look at the future coming out of a match like this. It's like whoever wins would kind of slot in for a title shot. It would make a lot more sense on paper to have Mandy face Raquel again in that distant future. But nonetheless, I think it'll be a very good match. But John, what are you thinking about this potential feud-ending match here?
Man, I don't really know. I mean, there could be a lot of ways to make this out. You know what I mean? Like, do you really like? In your mind, is this truly the end? Do you think?
I mean, it could be the kind of thing it's done for now. Like, it doesn't have to be the end. Like, they're never going to fight ever again. But it has been a while. They had the singles feud for the women's title. Had some time away. Dakota comes back, and she helps Mandy Rose in the title. So obviously, it made sense to do another rematch. They had War Games.
True. Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of at least in the NXT roster at the end.
I did like Dakota's promo. She interrupted Cora Jade's interview tonight and said something like, we saw a brief kind of alliance with Raquel and Cora last week, and Dakota said, oh, this is what she does. Raquel, once she finds someone with talent, she kind of latches onto you and tries to ride out as long as she can. So I kind of like that acknowledgement of that history, of that dynamic. Could they draw this out more? Yes, but I feel like they'd really have to kind of dig a little deeper than what we've been seeing so far. And I think they could do that. I'm saying that was what it would take to kind of keep my interest going here. But on the flip side, we're talking about Dakota being more logical of the two to lose here, but at the same time, two comments. Steven saying Raquel will be in the Royal Rumble, and maybe even more permanently, Brian saying that Raquel could get called up after the match, just like Rhea Ripley last year, ironically, kind of a full circle thing there. I think that would make sense. I know she's had at least one dark match up on SmackDown in very recent memory. So in that case, yeah, I think with that in mind, it might make more sense to have Raquel lose and to build Dakota up, even if it's not for an immediate title shot, just to feud with some of the other up-and-coming faces here. But I do think one way or another it's gonna come to a head next week. at least for now. And if Raquel doesn't get called up, maybe she'll move on to other things. Could always circle back later, but I thought it's probably time. So someone else who's apparently time is now is Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller started the show with a promo, or he got a video package, like the full court press, the video package about him attacking Johnny Gargano last week. Of course, Johnny officially a free agent now. Waller with a promo about it, talking about, he didn't understand why Johnny was thanking the fans and he doesn't need anybody. And he just, all he needs is himself, and he's partying it up. And I thought this was interesting, not so much the promo itself, but like there was very much intentionally so this clear dynamic where everyone in NXT, not just the fans, but like literally everyone backstage just hated Grayson Waller for what he did. Like they're just like, giving him dirty looks. And Bron Breakker, even better, Bron Breakker kicked him out of like the Young Stars locker room because he was so upset. Like I guess he just didn't want to be associated with him. Now, even if that's not a direct reaction to what he did to Gargano, just the fact that he has this kind of stink on him about what he did, I thought that was kind of cool. It's like, okay, Bron Breakker, not so much as he had been this clear heel. Now he's just kind of like this maybe tweener, badass kind of guy, and he doesn't support what Waller did. But to me, it's interesting that Waller's in this gray area of like, I'm still just mad about what went down last week, and there's kind of this promo tonight, and he like kind of like go away level heat where I was like, man, like, get out of here. But then like he got a rub. He started the show. He's very clearly like they're trying to position him as a, if not a top guy, at least kind of a bright rising star here. So, but this played out throughout the night. Io Shirai screamed at him. Tiffany Stratton from behind debuted and said her daddy thinks he's terrible. Unfortunately, Steven, I have no idea what Io said to Grayson Waller, but I imagine it wasn't good. I imagine I had some colorful language there. But I don't know. I thought this was entertaining. This brand wide dynamic where everyone just dislikes him and wants nothing to do with him. John, what do you think about the aftermath of Grayson Waller's just brutal assault on Gargano last week?
I mean, it's pretty amazing when, like, even Wade Barrett, the commentator, is basically saying what you did was wrong, and I think this separates him from the rest of the bad guys on the show. This segment, the whole thing last week, the promo tonight is set up to make him pretty much the most hated guy, ensuring he will never be liked or appreciated by the NXT fans. I think it did a good job of doing that. And it feels like anybody could fight him and be cheered at this point.
Yeah, big time.
I think the gimmick is set up for that. The gimmick is made for him to be universally hated forever. I'm trying to think of somebody maybe on the main roster that's kind of had that gimmick given to them. Miz does come to mind, although he did have a little bit of a run as a face there, a little bit. But I think we're going to get LA Knight eventually returning to feud with him, and he'll be universally loved for taking out Waller, even though I think Waller is probably in a position now where he could win again and again and again. But some of it didn't make sense with Bron Breakker, like, saying you're not welcome anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, if he's supposed to be a heel, like, you really wouldn't do that too. So I don't know. Maybe people are going to overlook that, though.
I think they are trying to blur the lines a little bit there, where, like, to me, I've read that as this like layer of the Bron Breakker character, where he was a face at first, then with the War Game stuff, it was very much a heel kind of thing. Now that we're kind of moving past that, shifting more into this, I think it's a gray area, because again, he faced Roderick Strong tonight. Roderick Strong and Diamond Mine, very much a heel person and group respectively. So I think they are kind of playing with that line a little bit, and to me, having that little scene of him kicking him out of the locker room was just kind of another way to kind of further that of uncertainty and just make him more of a complicated character. It's like, okay, he was part of the 2.0 team. Yeah, they beat up the black and gold kind of representatives for a couple weeks, and someone like me felt that they won and ended the black and gold era. But at the same time, now being somewhat positioned as a heel, like a full heel, but maybe more of a middle ground. So, but hey, people again. We're talking about this really could be beneficial for Grayson Waller. You know, Brian Everett saying that Waller is getting heat like this. He could eventually get a title shot. And I think right now, I mean, if we want to talk about long-term booking, maybe we're sitting here weeks or months from now. Bron Breakker is gonna have a great run. Grayson Waller could, you mentioned John, rack up some wins, and then lo and behold, you know, he could kind of find his way into a title shot and be like, hey, you're the guy that kicked me out of the locker room, and we took two different paths, and here we are. And having those two different kind of ideologies of the new school, if you will, kind of collide like that, I think that could actually be pretty cool. Yeah, and I say that's someone that hasn't been fully on board with this Grayson Waller kind of thing, but I think that'd be kind of cool outcome. More often than not, if you show me that kind of long-term storytelling, I'm not going to be that upset if it makes sense and you pull it off. And I was going to make this comparison as well. Herman comparing Waller to the Baron Corbin of NXT 2.0. I think that's a fair comparison. Like Baron Corbin, a guy that by and large hasn't had a face run. People kind of rallied around him when he was doing the whole sad Corbin kind of thing, but otherwise he's been a pretty clear heel his whole time on the main roster. So, or at least for the past several years, and that he's very firmly in my mind a heel like that. So, and that's not a bad comparison. I think he's enjoying a success around the main roster. So, if Waller can follow a similar pattern, not too shabby. But after this, the show, okay, maybe not right after this, because we did have a good match. It was Camo Grimes and Duke Hudson, no holds barred. Don't know why we needed this again. We saw this War Games. Grimes won. Hudson thought he cheated after he got his head shaved. So Grimes just wanted to remove any doubt that he was the best. So they had a no holds barred match. Pretty much what you'd expect. You know, trash cans, weapons, poker table. Because that's what
I knew that was coming. I knew you were going to mention the poker table.
How could I not, John? They're just shoving it down the throats, and these guys are feuding over poker and hair at this point.
Well, interestingly enough, I thought this was the best match that Grimes and Hudson have had together in NXT. But I still think there's something missing here. If you remember, I think it might have been last year when we had, I forget who it was. We had a main roster feud that it was going on and on and on, but they just didn't have chemistry together. It's one of those situations here where I feel like storytelling is okay, but the actual in-ring chemistry component is just not there. The rivalry needs to stop right here.
I have to think this is it. Yeah.
This has to be over. Hudson is obviously bald now. Okay, whatever. His hair will grow back. That'll be it. He needs to build himself back up, and Grimes needs to either move up or do something more
substantial
with somebody else. Yeah. More.
Some people, and I noticed this as well. It was weird that we saw Hudson completely shaved, if not bald, pretty much clean shaven of the whole head. Well, when he got shaved at War Games, he wasn't shaved. He got his hair cut, and so it looks like he literally shaved his head earlier today for the sake of this segment. And that kind of one of the things that took me a little bit out of it. But Harmon saying that Hudson can pull it off, and of course Hudson was wearing a wig, got to pull it off to reveal the bald. It's fine. I thought the match was fine. The Grimes did a blackout through the cave in through a chair. Pretty cool. Good one for him. And yes, Kevin Grimes is a treasure. Not just saying that she loves Grimes. I hope for better for him as well. Steven Chambers saying push him to the moon for either the North American or NXT title. I can see him challenging for a North American title. Right now, that's held by Cameron Grimes. That's held by Kamala Hayes. I don't know if that would go very well for him because they're so clearly gung-ho on all things Kamala Hayes there. So I think it'd be a very good match, though. Good storyline. So can't complain too much about that. I thought this was good. And beyond this point, we took a pretty rough detour where just as I mentioned earlier, there were several things in a row that either turned me off, upset me, or just weren't good. So the first thing that really, really I did not care for, Brooks Reed, Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. I can never get their name straight, damn it. And whatever, man. I don't even care. They were, it was a tape segment, and they were hanging out by the pickup truck. And country music is playing. So first off, I hate country music so much. Anytime it plays on WWE TV, it automatically makes my hair stand up. I'm like, all right, not great. And then Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter show up in another pickup truck, supposedly a cooler pickup truck, to take them to a concert. Now, ironically, this was a continuation of a storyline we saw, I think, last week, where they agreed to go to a concert. So +1 thumbs up for week-to-week storytelling. Then we get this montage of Briggs and Jensen and Casey Catanzaro, Caden Carter. I don't know. I can get them straight, but not the others. At a festival or a concert or something, and they're partying, and there are crowds of people. And I'm all right. I'm gonna catch flack for this, and I'm ready for it. But John, it's not the best thing to be showing right now. Like there's new concerns, revived concerns about pandemic stuff in a very serious way. They're at a country music festival, so no one there is wearing masks, John. In the back of your mind, like this is where they're at, and they're filming it, and they're partying, and they're listening to country music, and they're having a grand old time. So first, like again, A, what's the point? B, all those concerns under the surface equals not a good time for me. I'm like, this is not good.
Mask it or casket.
Good golly, John.
I second your initial opinion of the fact that they're blaring country music, which I used to enjoy, but cannot really stand anymore. Ever since classic country stars of the mid 2000s got out of the picture there, a lot of these new ones, I cannot stand it. But talking just about the segment itself, I would agree with Brian who says it was cringeworthy. I don't get how this helped. I mean, they're clearly building these guys to kind of be like a number one contender type team. I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. But I'd rather talk about a segment that I thought was much more entertaining. Maybe you won't. We had Harland backstage.
Oh, this is great. Best segment of the night right here. My God. Break it down.
He threw Brian Kendrick. Yes, that Brian Kendrick. The Brian Kendrick. He threw him down the stairs. He had to have a neck brace put on, sent to the hospital for further evaluation. He smashed. How do you say this guy's name? Guru Raj.
Guru Raj.
He smashed his head into the mat, and then he won. Then he smashed his head a few more times to make himself feel better again. This was not really a match. This was just an opportunity to showcase how dangerous Harland can be. It reminded me of how they introduced Braun Strowman to the crowd to make him look big and dangerous and a threat. I think it will take months, if not longer, to truly see what he can do in the ring. Right now, it's like Omos. All he is a big guy that can do a few moves like powerful. I think what matters the most here is continue to build off of this gimmick that's like Michael Myers.
Exactly.
He's clearly a destroyer. He should not lose his vengeance, carelessness, dominant feeling, and he definitely should not be losing anytime soon.
You build up a guy like Michael Myers. No, he should be just running a roughshod. And it's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, the first week or so that he was around, like I thought he was kind of like in a costume for like Halloween, and they're kind of like playing on that a little bit, literally because Halloween the movie was streaming on Peacock. So I was like, oh, maybe
he kind of reminds me of Snitsky.
That's a good shout. I remember him. Yeah.
Just like how he doesn't talk, he's real scary looking. Like he doesn't really say anything. He just shows up and dominates. Now, of course, they ruined Snitsky because then he started to just not be on the show, and then he was losing. And you get my point. It's a comparison of looking like so dominant.
Right. No, I like that. Brian Everett also comparing him to a poor man's Eric Rowan. I think that's another good comparison as well. But overall, DJ's maybe not so much on board. Well, we're not saying we're on board or not. I thought it was just funny seeing him chuck a guy down the stairs. But DJ's saying all the hype about Parker Boudreaux or Harland, as he's now known, and saying he sucked, no talent at all. I mean, there was nothing to really see here. As John usually said, he just slammed a dude head first on the mat a couple of times. Thought it was funny, just like again, seeing him yeet a guy down the stairs. Shout out to Brian Kendrick, former cruiserweight star, I don't know if he won the tag titles, but he was tag team with Paul London for many years and had a lot of success all over the wrestling world. So cool to see him on TV like that, even in this role. I don't know. I think Harland's got that presence. I think almost is a good comparison as well. of just like he's literally the way it was shot. There, he's getting escorted out of the arena down the stairs, and conveniently there's a camera at the bottom stairs, so they can see Harland kind of coming down. It's just giving this like killer stare right at the camera, and then for whatever reason he kind of snaps and just chucks Brian Kendrick, and I don't know. I thought again he played it well. There was nothing to really like, break down otherwise. That's all he did. Like this is nothing to really like analyze too much. I thought it was I liked it, but that's just a great thing. She thought they were champions. I'll get up later, but I have a feeling they won the tag titles at some point years ago. But yeah, this is one match. We cannot sit here and knock Harland, and I'm not doing that. I thought because there was just nothing to say. He slammed a dude, and I'm coming out tonight. I'm gonna remember the staircase scene, not this brief squash match. So with the character though, not just saying the silent kind of killer is scarier than a talker. This is what Harland's gonna be. He's a terrifying like monster of a man. And with the perfect combination of Joe Gacy, a guy that plays his role very well, I could see this actually being a very good combination here. So whether that's a monster push for Harland or if they do a team kind of thing, I don't know. But I think that this is one of the things on NXT that's looking up pretty nicely. So can't complain too much about that. One thing that I am going to complain about, even though DJ clearly feels differently. DJ is saying everyone's favorite tag team, Jacket Time, with a big win over Guilty Young Veterans. John, you giving the thumbs down. Oh boy! So we had Last Legend with Jacket Time. Lashing out with Lash Legend. Say that 10 times fast. With Jacket Time or in the show. Oh, I don't know what this was, man. I can't even. The first week I was like I wasn't fully on board with lashing out anyway. It just seems a little silly to me. If it was done well, it'd be one thing. It's just a kind of a corny Wendy Williams thing, and it's fine. Lash did wrestle on 205 Lives, 205 Lives. So maybe she'll be coming around into the ring at some point soon. But the Last Legend show, especially this one. I mean, yeah, Jacket Time cut a promo through subtitles talking about how they're gonna beat up Cruiserweight Veterans tonight. One thing, they said they're all about Style Strong, which I don't know if I thought was funny or if I thought was really cringy, because obviously Kushida, famous Japanese wrestler.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Right? King of Strong Style. Like that is literally what Japanese wrestling is all about. Strong style, and they flipped that for Style Strong, and it's Jacket Time. Ha ha ha! Get it? Like, I don't know. I'll have to kind of sit on that one a little bit because I'm not sure how I feel about it. But my first impression, not great. But several comments here upset about the ongoing treatment of Kushida. Brian Everett saying he hates how they've ruined Kushida. Steve Everett saying Jacket Time, no comment. All I can say is poor Kushida, not into Jacket Time. Not saying she loves the team, but hates the name. And that's really what it boils down to. They had a very good match with Guilty Young Veterans, despite the gimmicks of both teams. And I think that's a shame. I thought it could have been a very good match, just like when I'm so turned off of the way the characters are being presented, or specifically what the characters are playing, it's not great. Yeah, man, I don't want to knock it too much, but this was definitely not my favorite part of the show. I'll say that much.
You need to give NXT credit somewhat for trying to rebuild the tag division as a whole. You got Imperium as champions right now. Looks like the Creed brothers are setting up to dominate Girls and Young Veterans. Of course, you got Jacket Time finally at least looking like a good time, even though the name is completely horrible. I think what we can get coming out of this is Imperium is in for a long reign.
Yeah. If they could start to frame Jacket Time a little more seriously, maybe, I don't know, change their name. I think they could easily be strong contenders. But in the sitting here today, Jacket Time, if they're your kind of leading contenders, I would say that's a pretty safe bet. And otherwise, we mentioned a minute ago, if they want to do a tag team, kind of like AJ Styles and Omos with the Gacy and Harland kind of thing down the road, that's something. But right now, they don't have a whole lot of options ready to go today that could be the champions. They've got the Creed brothers, Josh Briggs and Briggs and Jensen. I'm gonna roll with that. Briggs and Jensen. I can do that. I mean, ironically, they're at least on TV, so that's something. But yeah, they're rebuilding it, and part of rebuilding is that it takes time. So maybe we'll be sitting here in a couple of weeks with a more firm idea about which team might be succeeding in this regard. But it is a rebuilding process, and literally the whole point of the 2.0 thing, as Nash is saying, next season's full of rookies, or at least by and large, predominantly using rookies at this point. So it takes time to build them up and really kind of get a feel for which ones you're going to be able to roll with. So yeah, I would say we can't really rush to judgment, but sitting here today in the present, it is challenging when some of these teams maybe aren't quite ready in that sense. I agree with Stephen Chambers saying he feels bad for Grizzly Young veterans, the direction they're going with the characters they've got right now, saying they're better off going to NXT UK. I mean, I think that's a shame because at one point they were one of the very best teams in NXT, and I think they still are. They're just hamstrung by a bad gimmick, and that's kind of predominantly the case here in some ways. So yeah, I feel bad for them. If the pandemic permits, with the travel restrictions and whatnot, I don't want to see them go, but like maybe they could be themselves or be what they were on NXT UK. But if not, hopefully they can kind of figure this out. But I can say all I want. Oh, they should just go back to what they were doing. Obviously, they're not going to do that. We got to roll with what they are doing. So we'll see what happens with Grizzly Young veterans there. Brian Everett saying they should have beat MSK for the tag titles in the first place. Maybe, but you bring up MSK there. And John Riddle was on NXT for a second week in a row as the shaman, teaching Nash, Carter, and Wesley his ways. He wanted to see what was in the bag, and he did. He investigated MSK's bag, and he pulled out scissors, an earbud, a comb, a baseball bat, and a comically small bag, the John Cena United States Championship spinner belt, and somehow this man pulled out three, at the very least, two more scooters out of a very average.
Where's the weed?
I thought they were gonna do something to like very clearly indicate, okay, this is what we're talking about. No, unless we're supposed to believe they had already had some of that substance before it was scooter time, as Nesh was saying. But I don't know, man. Riddle was saying he was pulling out all these props, and he was saying, "Oh, you got to focus, and to do that, you got to ride these scooters, man."
I don't have any relevant thing to input here because I thought it was pretty pointless. So I'll leave it at that.
That's what I'm saying. This was part of that stretch of the show where it was just like thing after thing. I was like, either I don't care, or I don't like it, or I'm not liking this specifically. And that sounds very negative. I don't mean for it to, but it's like usually at least it's kind of like sprinkled in where it's like, okay, you got some good, you got some bad. Whereas tonight it was more just like some good at first.
It's funny because pretty much after this, everything that we haven't talked about regarding the show tonight, to me anyway, was pointless.
Okay. Devil's advocate, not pointless. Or at least one thing that wasn't so pointless. DJ saying that Ivy Nile picked up an impressive win. She faced Amari Miller. I believe she's been competing on 205.5. This is good. I thought this was a good showing for Ivy Nile. However, in a match, she actually took some offense, and I think more so than her previous matches. I think she looked impressive, and I think she has a lot of potential. Good to see Diamond Mind rolling strong here, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my notes where we talked about Waller, we talked about Lash Legend, Nile. There's a brief Zion Clinton. Oh, okay, wait. There's one thing I want to talk about because I got the quotes from the promo. We had a promo from the master of the spoken word, Von Wagner.
Oh.
Boy, this was something. So I got someone tweeted the words here. So Von Wagner had a promo, and he said, last week was just the first body to break. Next week it continues because I'm gonna smash, beat him into the ground. Why? Because I can. I don't want to knock the guy. I'm not gonna bury the guy, but I don't know. Like when he was working with Kyle O'Reilly, I could like overlook it because he kind of like he got the rub from Kyle, and like he was working with Kyle's great, big fan of Kyle, but. This wasn't good, and they even teased that he at least indirectly that he might be working with Robert Stone moving forward here. I think that'd be good for him. It's like someone should speak for him with these promos like this. I don't know. Just yet another thing just kind of took me out of it a little bit. Steven Chambers saying Wagner needs a manager for his promos. Yeah. This was not good. I think he'd be very much benefit from a manager. He's got the size. He's got a good kind of star look to him in that sense. But I think he'd be better off with a manager like that. But you mentioned otherwise things kind of seeming pointless here on NXT.
Yeah, I mean, we did have Boa was in a match that he won. We also had Tony D'Angelo and Andre Chase, which Andre Chase always loses, so there's no surprise there. I'll briefly talk about the Tony and Andre match there. The right man won, obviously, with Tony winning, but Pete Dunne being involved kind of made things more interesting. Pete Dunne versus Tony D'Angelo next week should be interesting. Does Tony D'Angelo get a kind of a big win here to show that maybe Pete Dunne is there to put over some new talent, or is Pete Dunne going to continue to look good? And then real quick about the Boa match, I thought tonight was Boa's best match in NXT to date.
Yeah.
He looks good. And it looks like we're going to get Boa and Sikoa in a feud. Boa and Solo Sikoa, I think you're going to have a feud, which is just like a mouthful of words. I don't know.
I have a hunch, or even maybe I'm mostly kidding, but I feel like somebody in the creative meeting was like, "Hey, those names sound similar. Let's roll with it because why not?" You know,
Boa versus Sikoa.
It has a weird ring to it. Like I don't know. Cool. I don't know. Solo was watching backstage. You know, fine, but I think John, why are you clapping? What's up?
Just looking at some of these comments. Steven Chambers says, "Say that 10 times fast." And you got Herman saying, "Well, Wagner is the new Lars Sullivan." I assume he's talking about. Let's just keep that to a competitor standpoint, of course.
I think that's what he meant.
Just the comments in general about this potential feud. We got Boa, Sikoa. I'm up for Nesha loves Solo. All of these. I don't even know. But hey, let's. We have a question for you from DJ. What was the Dexter Loomis drawing signifying tonight? You're the one that loves this stuff, so you answer the question.
Well, first off, pouring out for Papa John, Johnny Wrestling. Obviously, the way is officially, for all intents and purposes, no more. We didn't even see Dexter tonight officially. We had, this drawing pop up where it was Dexter chasing Trick Williams throughout the arena. I don't think there was anything to really interpret here. I didn't read too much into it. And then shortly thereafter, they announced there'd be a match. So it was pretty clearly Dexter wanting revenge on Trick and Carmelo Hayes for breaking his hand. Hopefully he gets it. I'm going to be rooting for him next week. DJ, if you have any theories about what this image may have meant, I kind of took it at face value in that sense. But as always, there's always Easter eggs with anything. So I think that'll be fun. Obviously, I've made it no secret I'm a big fan of Dexter. Could see Dexter maybe challenged for the North American title at some point. With Nesh pointing that out. Steven saying Zion Quinn had a brief promo. Very, very minimal. All he said basically was like, "Oh, Electro Lopez is playing a game. Now that I know the rules, game on." I was like, who talks like this? Like, oh my gosh. But I did want to point out talking about the Boa match. Boa had a great match, and I liked it. I thought Boa looked great. But for me, I sometimes, John, with these shows, my enjoyment is purely just trying to cock myself up. So we had Idris Enufa come out, and I tweeted, "Idris Enufa, I've had enough of NXT." I just thought that was. Oh, I thought I cock myself up sometimes. I'm sorry. That's what NXT has turned me into at this point. Like I'm desperate for any and all enjoyment at this point. But I agree with friend of the show Radiant saying Dexter needs a title.
I agree with the comment that you need to join the WrestleMania crew.
All right, we're gonna make me do this. Okay. So we're gonna take a tangent from NXT because that's
Dallas.
So all right, Robert, this came. I think it was radio, not so ironically, a couple of months ago, either with on the Raw show or the SmackDown show or something, talking about wanting me to go to WrestleMania in Dallas, folks. Okay, I was going to go to an independent wrestling show next month, and I referenced it earlier with some of the resurgent concerns about pandemic stuff. I'm probably not even going to go to an event that would have like less than 100 people, because that's who I am. And if you disagree, that is your prerogative, and that's totally fine. Have fun, have a good time. I am very comfortable from my couch in my home. I'm getting a dog, so I will snuggle up with my dog and enjoy that and watch from the safety of my home. More often than not, covering the show because I have to.
I'll be watching from the safety of Section 14R, Road 2.
There you go. You know, I just that's the way I'm. Iridian saying she'll Photoshop me into the pictures. Go ahead, you have my blessing. That way I can look back years from now and literally live vicariously. I appreciate your kindness with that. Hopefully the day will come. Okay, hopefully the day will come when I and other people can actually go to an event.
I'll see you in Los Angeles in 2023. I'll see you in St. Louis, January of 2022.
Obviously, we could get way to the weeds here. It's just
I think the bottom line here is Colin's not going. I'm not going.
We talked about this before. The problems are I'm a paranoid person, an anxious person, and icing on the cake, I am cheap. So you're not going to get me to drop a pretty penny, a very pretty penny, to go to a WrestleMania show with those other concerns in mind.
Go on WrestleZone's dollar. Well, man. Okay. Well, we might as well have you rate NXT before we forget to do that. I will go first, and I do want to point. There was a couple of comments about what NXT needs is a vow renewal. That is the last thing NXT needs.
You are wrong, my friend. That
we do not need that.
Needs. Go back to the glory days.
That. We do not need that. We do not want that. So I will give the show a solid 6 out of 10. And I think that it was below average, and that interest is like the ratings chart going down and down and down every week. And I just wanted to stop. I just wanted to get better, but I don't think it's going to. And I don't know. I really don't know what to do, because obviously it's out of our control. And I'm getting negative reactions for my Colin because look, my Colin gets a 5, and I think that if we had a vow renewal on NXT, the show would get like a 4 or a 3. I gotta go with my buddy Luke on this one, and we just need to get on with the murder mystery instead that he has brought up the past couple of weeks. Pull the acts out.
Again, that would at least be interesting and like potential quality television. Whereas this, boy, oh man,
Sean Smith knows. Sean Smith absolutely knows.
Sean saying still rates AW. Well, we agree to disagree on that one. Nesha saying 6.5. DJ saying renew the vows 6.75. Kyle with a 1 out of 10 trash. Herman with a 7. Ryan Everett with a 6.7. Steven with a 6.5. Herman says it's somewhat better. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being
Nobody has given it over a 7, and most people not even over a 6. Kyle even gives it a 1. Like you said, 1 out of 10 for trash storylines. The storylines aren't necessarily the worst part for me. It's just the fact that they're not progressing, or the matches just aren't good. I don't know. I don't know what they can do to fix it, but it certainly feels like a roller coaster that was potentially going up at one point for a little bit, and now it's like we're like almost underground. We've been going down for so long.
It was weird because it was weird. Someone asked me if I was looking forward to NXT today, and at first I was like, no. And then I remember they announced a pretty solid lineup. I was like, okay, gonna have Bron Breakker and Roderick Strong, gonna have Cora Jade, Dakota Kai. Like on paper, I'm like, okay, cool. And then you sprinkle in all the other crap of like Jacket Time and Brooks Reed and I did it again. Reed and Jensen.
It's almost like the exciting part of the show would be that year-end review show on the 28th, but then at the same time, since they've revamped the show, it's unlikely that they're going to want to revisit that anyway. So it's
yeah. So yet again, not to harp on an old point, but Brian Everett saying he still misses the black and gold brand, still misses Triple H, best wishes to Triple H and his recovery. But even when he comes back, we are in this 2.0 era. I don't know how much that would really change. But no, that's just saying we are caught in a slump, and that makes our job as viewers, as critics, as just wrestling fans a little harder. You know, I don't want to sit here every week and be like, oh, I miss NXT the way it was, because that's not fun, obviously. But I do. and I thought War Games was a good show, but obviously, as we talked about, that was the final death cry, I guess, of the black and gold era. So here we are. Again, I liked parts of the show tonight. There's a lot that I didn't like. I am hopeful that New Year's Eve will be a good show as well. That maybe maybe if they can kind of fully commit and have Bron Breakker win the title, at least then you're kind of moving forward in that sense. But no, and again, I don't even know what would quote unquote save the show at this point. And that's just saying she's not sure if Triple H could save it. Triple H, the father of NXT, and if not even he could save it. I don't know what
Stone Cold Steve Austin could save it.
Arrive, raise hell, bring black and gold back, and leave. That's what Stone Cold could do. But moving forward, we'll see. We will hope for better. You mentioned, ironically, if they do like a year-end clip show or whatever, well, I mean, we might have to take a week off. Like, there's nothing to even review.
There will be no show. I'm probably assuming there'll be no show that week. And if there is, I can't imagine it'll be because of good programming.
So again, thoughts what they could do. He's just saying, bring back Regal. I miss William Regal, man. I hope he comes back at some point. But he's
bring back Samoa Joe.
Again, there are things we don't even know like the details about. It's like we know obviously Samoa Joe vacated the title. We don't know the extent of his injury or his recovery. I haven't heard a peep about that. William Regal just hasn't appeared. So that seems to be more of an intentional thing, maybe. But I don't know, man. We can hope for better. We do know if there's a clip show. If not, well, at least one more normal episode of the show next week before New Year's Eve. We'll be back here to talk all about that. We do know Brian Everett asking Shawn Michaels is still involved. Shawn Michaels has been running the ship since Triple H had to take a leave of absence for his recovery. Shawn's obviously been doing the best that he can. And no one should blame him for this. He's been he's the captain of a ship that's been designed by other people, and that's how I kind of read it. Where it's like he's running the ship, he's running the show, he's teaching the people, but it's not like he's the one responsible for these changes. I think that those are already in the works before that, so he's been trying to, I think, make the most of it. I think anytime you have a good match, like a good main event, like we saw tonight with Breakker and Roderick Strong, is a credit to that. It's like you're trying to make the most out of what you're being told to do, and I think that is the best you can really hope for in some ways. But again, we hope very much for the best here. But with that being said, we'll be back here next week. We'll be back here to talk about NXT. We'll be here on Monday to talk all things Monday Night Raw. Robert D. Fleece and I won't be here on Friday to talk about Friday at SmackDown, but we'll be back the week after that. And otherwise, hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Well, we'll be back next week. I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll be back obviously next week and beyond here. But above all other things here, it's important to remember to do one thing above all others. And John, can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy the show and appreciate it.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, everybody.